Hello! I have no idea whether this is working or not because for some reason YouTube is not letting, or XSplit, which is the streaming software, is not letting me set up the live stream for the particular event I've set up for the live stream on YouTube. None of this might make any sense to you, and I might be talking to no one in particular, but in the case that I am, let me just very quickly, I'm so sorry, I haven't done this in a while, and YouTube seems to be changing the rules about how this works and stuff, so I'm not even sure if I'm streaming to anyone in particular or not, or what's going on, or, no, yeah, we seem to be live. Let's just check this out. Okay. And yeah, hi, hello. There might be two live streams. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm sorry this is such a shambles, but need to share this on social media as well. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. They can hear and see everything, definitely streaming. Let me know if the audio is fine and stuff, and if it's okay, if everything's okay. This is working, great, okay. Right, so, hi, you know me, I'm Efka. I'm that guy that you see on YouTube talking about board games. Next to me is not Elaine, she's at work, and in an hour's time, less than an hour's time, we're gonna launch our Kickstarter. Am I nervous? No, strangely not. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm not feeling confident, that's for sure. But I think I'm past nervous. There's definitely knots in my stomach, and but it's not nervousness. It's this sort of strange feeling of, well, I've done everything I could have done, you know, and there's nothing more I can do now, if that makes any sense. I've worked very hard for the last year. Elaine has worked insanely hard for the last year to make her channel grow, because the idea was always that you know, we would eventually work on it together properly, full-time, professionally, and just do the best we can do. And this is like our chance to make that happen. So I guess it's an important thing for both of us, but at the same time, hopefully that, like, if you're watching this, then that means you're invested enough to, you know, be interested in the future of this channel. This should be important to you too, you know, because if everything works out, we can do what we do, but at a better quality, but also better quantity, and we can expand in different ways. So the first thing I want to do is actually talk about. Sorry, I keep looking over there because that's the chat. That's you. That's you. You are over there. You're not there. You're over there. So I keep looking at you over there. The first thing I want to talk about is I just want to show you the Kickstarter page for a little bit in terms of what's on offer, what's available. This is such a bizarre way of looking at it. And you know, what it's going to feature. So the first thing is I am not going to show. Oh, come on! I thought I set this up. Okay, so well, this is. I'm just gonna make that. I'm gonna make you not see that, but then I can't see it. This does not work great. Okay, never mind. So our email is not a secret. Everyone knows our email. That I am not going to show you. And I don't think that works. Okay, this has so far been a disaster. So let's do it a different way. Let's do it where I can just show you my screen. And that way you're going to be able to see what our Kickstarter campaign looks like. If you bear with me. Huh. Okay, that just straight up doesn't work. That is so peculiar. Well, isn't this professional? So I'm gonna figure this out as we go along, But first of all, why not ask me some questions, and I'm gonna hopefully make this work, and then I can show you the Kickstarter page. And whilst you're asking me questions, I'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's on offer on the Kickstarter. So the first thing you might have seen is we're gonna have promos. I'm excited to have promos. We didn't want to overload our Kickstarter campaign with a lot of promos, so we worked with ones that are easy to ship and also exciting for people. At least I think they would be exciting for people. And obviously not every publisher wants to give you promos, and of course we have to always give this sort of disclaimer to publisher. Hey, would you like to give us this free thing that will in no way influence our opinions on your game, and we're basically going to stay as impartial as possible, and it doesn't guarantee that we'll say nice things about your games or anything like that. So I mean, this common sense, and most publishers obviously are perfectly okay with that. But you know, it's still a big ask, because you're essentially asking for something like, can you support us in this way so that we have this for our campaign? And so we have 5 promos that I'm pretty happy about, and you can see that publishers are okay with it, because for example, we have a Clank in Space promo, and it wasn't like, I wouldn't say that our Clank in Space review was like the most positive review in the world, but regardless, I think that's a game people are going to be excited about and are excited about. So we were more than happy to put it on our campaign. There we go. Oh, to get Chrome to show like that, you need to disable hardware acceleration in Chrome settings. Okay, well, we can probably do that. Chrome settings. Well, we'll do that a little bit later. What is your definition of a Eurogame? Is Pandemic a Eurogame and or Tiny Epic Galaxies? So I don't have a definition of a Eurogame. I think I'm one of those people that are like, do we really need this anymore? Because first of all, I as someone who studied linguistics, and I believe in the power of language, and I believe in the power of words and how strong words are. And I think these sort of like insider terms, they give an aura of exclusivity, and I don't think that's a good aura for board games to have. So, but of course we want to quantify things, and we want to define things, and we want to put them into categories in our brain, so that things make more sense to us, right? And that we can convey information better to other people. But I think like just the fact that this question exists, you know, like, is Tiny Epic Galaxies a Eurogame? Sure, it is, if that's what a Eurogame means to you, right? And I think if you said to someone else who also has an idea of what a Eurogame is, and say, Tiny Epic Galaxies is a Eurogame, and that's all, what that is going to do is only going to provide discourse between you, because that person might agree or not agree based on their definition of what a Eurogame is. But to me, the whole thing is just like a spectrum, and not on 2 axes. Like, you know, there's like Eurogames and American style games, and no, there's just like one side of a whole diagram of a spectrum of like, let's say it's the X-axis. There's also a Y-axis, you know, and what that is also probably up for debate and for you to determine. So, short answer, sure, it's a Eurogame. Sure, Pandemic is a Eurogame, and you know, or maybe not. Depends on what you want it to be. Do you have a favorite type of tea? Yes, I do. Well, I don't necessarily have a favorite type of tea, but there's certainly types of tea that I enjoy drinking a lot more than others. So, number 1 would be Genmaicha, which is a Japanese green tea that is together with like brown rice. If I don't know how to describe it. So there's a little bit of brown, not a little bit, there's a good amount of brown rice mixed together with the green tea, and some of that brown rice sometimes might be popped as well, so it looks like tiny flecks of popcorn, if that makes sense. And as any green tea, you roast it over a slightly lower temperature so you don't burn the flavor. And it's a pretty nice tea. I really enjoyed the flavor of it. And the first time I had it, I was in London. There's this place in London called Tokyo Diner, just near Chinatown, where it's a really nice place. It's a really sort of cozy, like sort of diner environment, and the food's sort of simple but nice and feels homey. And as soon as you come in, they serve you like just a free cup of genmaicha. And that's the first time I had it. And I'm like, oh my God, this tea is amazing. And ever since then, I kind of fell in love with it. There's another one I really like. It's also Japanese green tea. It's called hojicha, but it doesn't look like a green tea because it's brown. And that's because it's been roasted. And because of the roasting process, you have like a lot of the caffeine, its effects are subdued. And so it's a nice evening tea where you can drink a nice cup of tea and not feel like your heart is going, you know, in the middle of the night. So it's a nice tea. I really enjoy it. What's your most favorite game of all time? No. Sorry, I don't mean to be mean. It's just, there's no answer to that question. Have you, or will you ever shave your beard off? Maybe a stretch goal on the Kickstarter. So I have shaved my beard off, and it's not a good look. Trust me on that one. And sometimes I shave it more like to be, you know, just a little stubble, but not completely off, because it really doesn't suit me very well. And if you don't believe me, I'll post when this is done, and maybe once the Kickstarter excitement die down a little bit. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll post a picture of what I look like without a beard on Twitter, and you'll understand why I have this beard. There's a very simple answer for that. Okay, so I skipped some questions over, definitely. How was my day? So, okay, this maybe not the most exciting thing. It was a nice day. I had pretty atypical breakfast, because normally for breakfast I just have like a piece of toast or something like that. But today I had 2 pancakes with caramel sauce and some raspberries. So that was, it was a pretty good start. And then I mostly spent time writing our next video and setting this thing up, this live stream up, and finishing up a few things for the Kickstarter that just needed like a little bit of touching up. And yeah, obviously haven't done the best job at setting the whole live stream thing up, because yeah, the Chrome thing isn't working, but we'll get to that towards the end, and yeah, we'll sort it out. We'll show you a little bit of what the page looks like. Yeah, and that was it. Oh yeah, I also set up the City of Kings on the table just over there. I'm not going to move the tripod, but it's just over there, just because we're hopefully going to play it tonight when Elaine comes home, because we want to play it. Hi, if you have to bring one game to a desert island, what would it be? One game, just one game. That's a good question. I don't know, it'd have to be like Gloomhaven. Yeah, that's pretty easy. It'd just be Gloomhaven. There's so much game in that game, you know. You could just like, you know, play it, explore it in so many different ways. And even when you played through all the scenarios, you can make like random scenarios, and yeah, there's just no end to it, right? So yeah, Gloomhaven. And if I had my smartphone on a desert island for whatever reason, I could maybe look for like homebrewed scenarios as well. So there you go. I am relatively new to MPI and the Kickstarter plans. You mentioned that the goal is to be able to work on the side channel full time. In what ways do you hope this will help it grow? Well, I know it will help it grow, because I've been working full time on it already for a year, right? For slightly more than a year, but this is the second Kickstarter that we have. So the first Kickstarter, on a very minimal budget, like enabled me to go full time. You know, we kind of calculated basically what's the least amount of money that we can survive on, and we just kind of went off of that. And it wasn't necessarily the best plan, but it kind of worked because the essence of it was, okay, so no pun included, professionally is an investment, and we're going to make an investment and work on it, like basically at a loss for a year, me work on it, and just help it grow by making things that people enjoy watching, right? And the more people enjoy watching it, the more they spread the word, the more people watch it, right? Yeah, and I think that's worked out, and how well that's worked out, I guess we'll find out from this campaign, won't we? So, the more, and because if we are, you know, financially independent, if we don't have to have another job, we have all of the time in the world, however much time you can have in a day without sleeping, you know, to work on this, to write scripts and prepare sets and you know, play games because you need to play games to review games, and also having two people is so much more important because it's like, it's not an increase of like, okay, so if one person is, you know, 100% and two people are 200%. That's not true. Two people is so much more than 200% because just the ability to continuously bounce ideas in a professional environment and work on ideas together it's so empowering and so much more vibrant and creative that I think that if both of us can work on this full time, this really will be, this channel will go like that, like that. Oof. Okay, chat's going crazy. I need to check this out. What game have you played the most in 2018 so far? Probably boring because probably a boring answer because it's going to be, I think, Azul. Just because it's so easy to get out, it's a quick game and you just kind of like go, oh yeah, well, we're filling time, you know, let's play Azul. So I think I've played Azul most, and I've played quite a few games of Gloomhaven because after we finished our review, we kind of put it aside, and then we played it a little bit to playtest our scenario, obviously last year, and then we put it aside again, and then we kind of brought it out recently again and been playing more of it, so like quite a bit of Gloomhaven. That's, I guess, why Gloomhaven's on my mind. Have you no, we've done that one. Do you use any products on your fabulous luxurious beard? Asking for a friend. No, I don't. It's just my beard. So that was pretty simple. Okay, so what game have you played the most in 2017? I don't know. I don't keep, like, stats or tracks. Tracks? That's not a word. It is a word. It just doesn't mean what I think it means. Probably Insider. Because, again, quick, simple game. And we used to, like, at our board game club, just play... And not just board game club, like... Everywhere I went, I just pretty much had my copy of Insider with me, to the point where the sand timer broke because it was in my backpack, just kind of kicking about. So yeah, that would probably be Insider that I played most, because after every game night, you can just go, well, how about we wind down with a game of Insider? That's how the little games win. Have you heard of the Iron Harvest Kickstarter? Yes, I have. I've seen the video for it, and it looks really cool and impressive. And I think the one thing that kind of made me consider backing, I haven't backed it, but made me consider backing it, was there was a line in the video there that said, we want to make a real-time strategy game that's not about clicking the fastest. And I'm like, yes, please. I'm like 35 and my dexterity is not so great to begin with, but like the older you get, the more your manual dexterity just kind of tanks down, and I wanted to kind of revisit that RDS genre that I was so fond of when I was a kid, and but it always puts me off playing something like StarCraft, because you know that it's all about like clicking really fast, and of course there's more to it. You know, there's strategy elements and, you know, deciding which engagements you're going to pick and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you can't click fast enough, you're not going to get very far. So for me, it was more about, yeah, like, I just want to play something that's like strategy. But what's the point of playing it real time, I guess, then? I don't know. So, yeah, mildly excited. I'm just going to see where it goes, I guess, and wait for it to come out and then try it out. My kid, ooh, no, it jumped. Enjoys Scythe and Eclipse, but he's a little too young to stay focused all the way through. Any recommendations for similar games that can keep the parents interested, but maybe quicker? So, I wish I could right now say Stuffed Fables, but because we have a copy, we got a copy sent to us, and we haven't had a chance to play it yet, and I've been hearing so many wonderful things about Stuffed Fables. I doubt that it's kind of the same as Scythe or Eclipse, because Stuffed Fables emulates a dungeon crawler, and Scythe and Eclipse are like big strategy games that you play against other people. But I'm not sure that's the sort of game that kids are really going to dig into anyway, the genre of game. Also, Mechs vs. Minions, it's great. I think an 8-year-old, depending on the 8-year-old, would definitely grok Mechs vs. Minions, especially some of the easier missions. And it's a lot of fun, and it's got really nice, colorful minis that I think children would appreciate. Those would be my 2 suggestions. Following on from the Desert Island board game question, is there one starting race which you would pick for your Gloomhaven copy? I don't know. I'm kind of... so we never played with the Scoundrel, and we had a few friends recently join us to play Gloomhaven, so one of them picked the Scoundrel, and I was like, you can do how much damage in one go? So, I kind of want to have a go with the Scoundrel, but I'm still playing my Artificer. It's still not retired. I still haven't gotten to that point. So, and I'm enjoying playing my not Artificer, Tinkerer. Sorry, yeah, with the Quadrille with the hand crossbow. What is your favorite game mechanic? My favorite game mechanism is, I don't have many favorites. I don't do favorites. I wish I had like this Tom Vassal ability of like, this is number 10, this is 7, and this is 2, and that's the best one. I'm not able to quantify things like that in my brain. I was just like, I like this, I really like this, or I don't like this at all. That's pretty much the ranges that I have. There's more leeway in between, obviously, but so I don't have a favorite mechanism. I mean, I do enjoy drafting a lot, definitely. I think when a game offers drafting, I'm really into it, and when drafting is an important component of the strategy, because like, I remember playing Tybor the Builder with my friend John from John Gets Games at Essenspiel, and he was like, oh, this game's pretty good, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, but the problem with it is that it doesn't, like, the draft doesn't scale very well based on player count. So if you're playing with 2 players, you can kind of think about what the other person is going to pass to you and what you're passing to them. And whereas, like, if you're playing with 4 players, you're not getting back anything that's interesting, and you're not making those decisions. And he's like, wow, I wasn't even thinking on that level. And I'm like, yeah, that's me when I draft. I really like drafting, and really like to dig into it. So I guess drafting. There you go. There's an answer. My shipment of the 7th continent is on its way. It's going to include the expansion and all stretch goals. Do you think it's going to be better with all of this? No. But I mean, okay, so all we can do when we make our reviews, and we've gotten a bit of flack for some of our reviews for when we said things like, this is not a game that we think is as good as other people say. You know, we've certainly got some flack for the Seven Continent video, but we really didn't enjoy it. I mean, first of all, we really enjoyed it at the start of it. We really enjoyed the exploration and the sort of wonder that you get from a game where, like, there's a whole world there for you to explore, and like, yes, I want to explore this world, and then you explore the world, and this world's not that interesting. And I think the problem with Seven Continent is that you're either going to find that world interesting or not. And for me, it was too reminiscent of, like, the sort of trappings that choose your own adventure books would fall into, where you have like dead ends and dead leads and sending you on wild goose chases, and it wasn't a fun puzzle to solve. And I think the part of the mystery of the world as well is that, like, you're kind of wandering around, but you're not really learning anything about the world. You're just kind of learning about the various tropes that they've put in from like fiction that already exist outside. So it felt cobbled together. Like, world building, I'm very, very passionate about world building. We went to AirCon recently, which is a convention in Yorkshire, and our friend Frank West was doing a talk about world building. And I'm pretty sure I put it in a very uncomfortable position, because I started asking questions at the end of it. He was like, this is just way too elaborate, Efka, stop. So I'm really passionate about world building and what goes into a world and why it goes in there. And, you know, sometimes mundane things interest me, like why is there this distance between these two settlements? And sometimes, you know, like other things interest me, like what's the reasoning and the meaning behind this world. So for example, Tolkien said that and Tolkien, of course, you know, built the most famous fake world, Middle-earth. He said that he despises allegory in all of its forms, and what he meant by that is that there were a lot of comments about Lord of the Rings being an allegory for World War II, and he was so determined to prove that that's not at all the case. That you know, Middle-earth is Middle-earth. It has nothing to do with the current events of the world. It is the past of our world, you know, the long lost, forgotten past, the British myth, you know. And actually, I think a lot of people probably thought that because whether Tolkien could help it or not, he lived through World War II, and it influenced him definitely in significant ways, as it influenced everyone who lived in that time. And he, as much as he wanted it to not be an allegory for World War II, it still is, whether he wrote it that way or not. And that to me is the interesting part of world building. Whereas I found nothing interesting in Seven Continent, and maybe that's a little bit too much to ask of a board game, but like if you're building a world, I want to know what message does this world have behind it. And for me, Seven Continent had no message whatsoever. In hell, what game does Satan make you play endlessly with AP prone demons? Well, it's gonna be a game that I don't enjoy playing, and then, like, if you're in hell, you know, and you're playing a board game, you know, like, might as well play a board game, but that board game is going to be particularly something I don't like. But still engaged enough to not go away and do something else. If, of course, I had the option to go away and do something else. I think Kraftwagen, because it's not like a bad enough game to play, but I really dislike the Kaido mechanism of like jumping over pieces and kind of figuring, do I want to go earlier or later? I don't know why, I just really don't like that mechanism. And yeah, I think waiting for my turn to come would just be excruciatingly aggravating. I have been a board game designer for the mainstream market for over 15 years, and I'm now nearing
completion of my own independent game. Would you be interested in play testing a prototype once ready?
No, sorry. We do not have time to playtest prototypes. I'm really sorry. I wish I could help. I really, really sincerely do. But there's just not enough time in the world. But best of luck with your project. I really hope you succeed.
Will you be at Essen again in 2018? Yes, hopefully. So Essen is a really special place for us. I don't know why, but both me and Elaine really, really like going to Essen. And the plan is yes, but of course, again, it all depends on the success of the Kickstarter. That's the answer. So current tentative answer, yes. Do you enjoy playing chess? No. I don't know why, so sorry, they haven't got a more kind of a, just no. Do you have to be in Europe in order to play and call it a Euro game? No, you can be wherever you like and call it whatever you want to call it. There you go. What do you think of the current trend of people backing multiple copies of a Kickstarter and then scalping people at a later date by selling on eBay for twice the price? It's not a current trend, that's been happening for like, I don't know how long. I mean, what do you want me to say? The obvious answer is I don't like it. But I suppose the reason that question is there is because you want me to elaborate on the whole thing. But there's nothing much to elaborate. The term is carpetbagging, I believe. And, you know, carpetbaggers have existed before board games, before the internet, before scalpers, and they will exist for as long as humans are humans, I think, because, you know, if there's one, you know, it's the whole death and taxes thing. If there's one thing certain, two things certain in this world is that you'll die and someone's going to rip you off. So it's unfortunate, but it is part of this industry growing. We all, you know, if you've been in board games for at least 5 years, I mean, the whole big thing was like, we have to let this industry grow, and we have to make it grow, and we have to expand, and we have to, you know, make it as widely available as possible so that more people play board games, which is great. I really noble, and I wholeheartedly believe in that as well. But as this industry grows, so will, you know, things will get introduced to it that are not particularly salient. Because that's just, people will find ways to exploit it, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. How often? Ooh, jumped. Sorry. Wow, really jumped. How often to play games you intend to review and decide not to? What reasons might that happen for, or how does a game make it to a review candidate? Well, first of all, we have to be personally interested in it ourselves. Like, there has to be some sort of a degree of, oh, this looks interesting, right? And then well, it's strange. So, I mean, sometimes we review games that we obviously didn't like because we think that the game is, regardless of whether we liked it or not, still interesting enough to be featured. And sometimes that means that a lot of people are interested in it and want to know our opinion. And at the end of the day, I never, and Elaine is 100% with me on this, we don't want this channel to become a service for ourselves, where we play games that we want to play and then we make videos of games that we want to play, because that wouldn't be fair on you folks, because you support us, right? You're there and you're making us go, and you're helping us financially, and you're letting this channel thrive. So at the end of the day, all we are is we're a service that we provide for you, and it's kind of weird to look at it in those terms, but it is what it is, and we have to, you know, I think we have to respect that. So sometimes we'll just choose a game based on the fact that a lot of people are interested in that game. Sometimes we'll pick a game that we don't necessarily like because we think there's still something very interesting about this game and we want to showcase it. Sometimes we will pick a game because we really like it. It does something clever, it does something innovative. And sometimes we will pick a game just because we think it makes a good video. And I think that's important, because
there are games that we played that we enjoyed, and we were like, okay, so the most current example is Nusfjord, where me and Elaine both have enjoyed Nusfjord. There you go. It's a perfectly fine game. It's fairly light, you know, for a Uwe Rosenberg game. But there's nothing we could say that would make it a particularly interesting video, because everything that game does is kind of been done. It does things in a slightly different way, and that's fine. But it's not particularly like this. There's nothing that, like, I think captures people's imaginations about Nusfjord. Maybe the amounts of fish that there are in the box, tiny little wooden fish, but that's it. So we go, okay, we liked it. This is fine, and maybe we'll cover it in the podcast if John wants to talk about it. But otherwise, pass. And there you go. A release of StarCraft, the board game, would be amazing. Still one of my favorite strategy board games. Never played it, sorry. I know of it, I've never played it. Oh, I'm sorry to everyone who's been in the original stream. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Thoughts on Rising Sun? Video very soon. Gloomhaven wouldn't insert organizers, yay or nay? Yay, because, well, because it's just so much easier to set up. I have one. Actually, when Gen Con opened, I stood in this stupid line for which I had to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Even though I was press, like, even if you're press, if you want to get in early, unless you're an exhibitor, like, you have to stand in a line, then stand in another line, after you stood in the first line to get a badge to stand in the other line. And then they let you in like an hour early. So I stood in a line with a bunch of people who were also like press or VIPs who bought a really expensive ticket. And they let us all in. And then I went, and the first thing I did was went and bought a Gloomhaven insert, fully knowing that it's definitely not going to sell out. But I was like, this is what I came to Gen Con for, because, well, and it's not, but like, I really didn't want to ship that thing from US, even though it later became available in Europe. But I'm like, no, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go get myself a Gloomhaven insert, and I did, and I'm happy that I did. Although I have to say that it is not cheap, so, you know, if you can't afford it, I just, you know, arts and crafts it, you know, like, there's, and I don't necessarily mean like foam core or whatever, just come up with a solution, you know, like, be creative, be inventive. Like, this is a hobby, you're a hobbyist, you know, and hobbyists are people who do something that's a little bit different out of passion. So if you have passion for a game and you don't have a lot of money, you know, convert that passion into solutions. Oh, everyone's talking about YouTube. Okay. What was the hobby board game that got you into the hobby? Also, what was your big game when you were a kid? Not many board games in Soviet Union when I was growing up. Like, some standard board games, but like, we didn't even have Monopoly. We just had like Soviet knockoff version of Monopoly. I can't even remember what it's called. But I remember definitely having played a knockoff version of Monopoly without knowing that it was Monopoly, but knowing that Monopoly is a thing and that it exists. So that's weird. There's this card game called Durak, which is a trick-taking game. Still know how to play it. Still play it from time to time. But we played that game to death. Everyone like the Soviet Union knows how to play that game, and or at least did. And I played it a lot. And everyone else played it a lot until it became boring, and then you stop playing it, and then someone breaks out a pack of cards and suddenly you're hooked again. So that would be the game I played as a kid. The game that got me into the hobby, definitely, like, strongly, is Twilight Imperium. I talk about that in the Dice Tower top 5 that we did together with the Dice Tower at UK Games Expo last year. So if you want to know more about that, check that out. It's a good top 5. I enjoyed being on it.
If reviewers all say the same thing, there's not much reason for reviews to exist. There we go. A lot of people joining the stream after the previous broken stream. I'm so sorry about that. It's just it just went to another stream for some reason, even though I set it up to go to that. It's just a hassle. Digital technology is a divisive addition to games recently, be it apps in Manchester VR basically, or apps. What's your opinion? I mean, I don't know. I honestly, one of the things about being a reviewer is you have to be very good at understanding why someone, not you, why someone likes something or dislikes something. And it's just one thing. Just I can't get into that mind frame of not liking apps because they're apps or whatever, because it's a phone. And you know what? I'm not like big on phones either, because they can become a consuming part of your life, and by consuming I mean like they consume your time and stuff like that. We only have a couple of minutes left. I'm just gonna answer this question, and then we're gonna need to launch the Kickstarter. So apps can be a consuming part of your life time, but it's not the same when you bring it out in a game as part of a tool to use it in a game. You know, like it doesn't somehow monopolize your time or attention. It's just there to provide a different avenue to play a game. Like it's the same as, okay, what if board games came with a wrench? Sure. I mean, does this game need a wrench? Does the wrench improve the game? And if it does, then what's the problem with having a wrench in a game? So it's one of those things I really, honestly, without being like condescending or anything, really try to understand that mind frame, but I just can't. So someone said that I remember that if I go into advanced settings in Chrome, I will be able to show you the Kickstarter. And the whole point of this was to like, the whole point of this live stream was to show you folks what the Kickstarter is. But is there a point to it? I mean, it's only a couple of minutes away. I'm gonna click the button and then it's gonna go live. Why don't I tell you a little bit about it? So, actually, there's one thing I really want to bring up during this live stream that we haven't talked about anywhere else yet, and it is part of this Kickstarter, and we don't really elaborate much on it in the Kickstarter page itself, but it is a big goal for us, so we kind of want to explain what that is. And I'm sorry for anyone's questions that I haven't answered. I'll try to do another live stream like in a week's time to maybe do more Q&A, because why not? This is fun. So one of the big things for us is adding playthroughs, like let's plays or whatever you want to call it, but basically playing a board game, right? And regardless at which level this Kickstarter funds, if it does fund, then this will be a part of No Pun Included going forward. It's not going to be an immediate addition, because the thing about playthroughs is that we tried filming playthroughs quite a few times. There's a few playthroughs that we filmed that we just never put on the air, and I remember we filmed Pandemic Legacy Season 1 playthrough where we only filmed one episode because we just weren't satisfied with the result. And it's the same story over and over again. We weren't satisfied with the result because they weren't bad, they just weren't what we wanted playthroughs to be. Because the tricky thing about playthroughs is, first of all, they have to be accessible, you know, to people who've never played the board game before or have not played many board games before, but also clear enough that people understand what's going on, and at the same time snappy enough that they keep you engaged in watching other people play a game. And I think it's a very tricky balance, and I think we figured out how to do it. I think we have a pretty good idea of how to make that work, but it's not a cheap idea. And again, part of the Kickstarter is going to go into funding those playthroughs, and I really hope that you are satisfied with the result. I don't think we'll be able to show you an example of one whilst the Kickstarter is live, which is the really sad and unfortunate part, because as I mentioned, the whole thing is just expensive, right? But we think we can make something that's a little different
but also will just bring you that joy of watching people play a game, because some people really enjoy watching people play a game, and I do too. Actually, one of the first things I did as I was eating breakfast, my pancakes this morning, I watched Rado do his run through of Edge of Darkness because I enjoy it. So there you go. Okay, we have only 3 minutes left until the Kickstarter goes live. I'm really sorry I couldn't show it to you on the screen. I thought I would, but then I'll do it better next time. So thank you for sticking through with me through this live stream. I know I'm not being vocally very... my words scatter because I think I'm a little bit stressed about the fact that we're just about to launch. So I'm gonna drop a link actually in the chat of the page, and you can check it out for yourselves. It's the pre-launch page, but if and when it launches, which is in a couple of minutes, you'll be able to. That link will take you directly to the campaign page. So there you go. That's the Kickstarter. I posted it 3 times just in case it gets lost. And thank you for being with me. I'm gonna tune out now and I'm gonna go launch the project. Wish us the best of luck. Bye.